in what was supposed to be a blowout type game was actually not a blowout game. It was very close throughout. The Philadelphia Eagles took on the Houston Texans and defeated them 29-17 last night on Thursday Night Football. It was a game that, again, not many people had high expectations of this game, but it showed out to be a pretty good one. The Houston Texans were able to fight, use Dameon Pierce, use their weapons that did not include Brandon Cooks. But Philly was able to get the dub 29-17. Aaron, what were your takeaways from this game? You are on mute, sir.
Sorry about that. If you guys were paying attention to me when we predicted this game, I said I didn't think that Philly would get to what we thought, or many people thought they would. I knew the Texans would fight. I knew it was a short week traveling on the road. I expected Houston to come out and play and give everything they had. It's talking about a team that's undefeated. Everybody's going to come and give Philly their best. They're going to want to be that first team that knocks them off. I said this the other day that I didn't think Philly would get to the 30-point total. They got to the 29-point total. It was close. But for the most part of that game, Houston was in it. 14-14 at the half. They were able to run the ball on Philly. And I think it's just indicative of what the NFL is. I think the Eagles are more talented. I think the Eagles have a better roster. I think the Eagles are a better football team. But more importantly, they outlasted a Houston Texans team on a short week on the road and got the job done. I'm not going to judge them based on this. Obviously, it's a good thing for Houston to be able to compete. They had some turnovers, which cost them. Philly didn't play their best football, but they ended up getting what they needed to get done, which is get the win on the road. So that was good.
Yeah, I like what happened with the Texans last night. Even without Brandon Cooks, this is another one of those teams where you talk about the issues they have and the resilience they need, and maybe not so much the Raiders of last year and all they dealt with, but when everyone's counting the Texans out, they always find a way to at least play tough. And I think for the most part, Davis Mills looked better than he had in recent weeks. Obviously, you can talk about the interceptions, but that's also against one of the best defenses and secondaries in the league with the highest turnover differential. So, I take some of it away from him, but, he can also be blamed for a little bit of that. Dameon Pierce continues to show what he is going to be in this league against again, better run defense in the NFL, able to put up 120 plus. This team in the Houston Texans, obviously not many people are giving them a shot. 1-6-1, they have more things to worry about. But up against an 8-0 Eagles team, it just starts to become who's going to be that team that takes them down. And I don't think many of us thought it would be the Texans last night. And now you see Philly at 8-0 for the first time, and another team that is not taking their record for granted and realize that they still have to continue to get better. They still have to work on things because some of these top-notch teams in the NFC and the AFC, one mistake is all you need against guys like the Bills or the Chiefs. So they're going to have to be ready, and Jalen Hurts reflected on that too.
Yeah, I think from this game, I'm thinking we talk about where this team is going to lose. Like that's what it seemed like to be the conversation all week this week, because people were just trying to find things to talk about with this game because on paper it wasn't really a close matchup. But in the NFL, these teams, and we talked about at the beginning of the season, teams like the Texans are going to be hard outs. They're not going to be hard. They're not going to be easy wins. And it showed in this game here. We're trying to find where these losses are going to come from the Eagles. And I think in this game, it showed that I think the inevitable is going to happen and they're going to lose a football game. Like they're not going to go undefeated. Like they're going to face maybe the Giants, the Cowboys, or maybe the Packers figure themselves out and get one or two losses along the way, just because like even in this type of game, it kind of showed that like they're not the perfect, by far, not even close best team in the NFL. Like that kind of thing.
You can be the best team in the NFL and lose. So you can look like you're a juggernaut and lose. We saw it. It didn't even happen in the regular season. The Patriots of 2007, we didn't think anybody was going to ever touch them, and they lose in the Super Bowl. I always say it's too early to talk undefeated season until you get to double digits. So until they're 10, 11, 12, and 0, talking about undefeated really doesn't do anything for me because it's just half of the season. We've seen teams start 10-0, 11-0, and then lose 3 down the stretch. And at the end of the season, we're talking they're 13-3 or 14-3, and we're not even remembering what we talked about at the beginning of the season. I'm not a fan of it. I just like to let these guys play. They're 8-0, the best record in the league, and but there's teams right behind them. Minnesota's only got one loss. The Bills, like These teams are, there's other teams that are in there that have, a lot of wins that are in the same category, or if not better than the Philadelphia Eagles. Just because they've won every game doesn't separate them from the rest. And so I particularly care less about the regular season than a lot of people. Philly could go 17-0, and I'm going to say the same thing. Great. You got to win the Super Bowl. Like, those expectations just become higher and higher the more you win. So, and the ultimate goal has to be reached. Otherwise, it's a failure in most cases. If you ask Jalen Hurts at the end of the year, would you rather be 17-0 and lose in the playoffs, or would you rather be 10-7 and go win a Super Bowl? I damn near believe every single player in the NFL is going 10-7 and winning the Super Bowl. So I'm not a big fan of the undefeated talk. I never have been, because it just doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter unless you finish the job and you go all the way through. It's the Warriors of when they, broke the Bulls record, and then
2016. That's why I chose to watch Kobe retire that night.
Losing the final. I don't know where I left off, but I said it's the Warriors losing the 3-1 lead in the finals after, having the best record ever. It just doesn't mean as much if you don't get the job done.
And I was on mute, but that makes sense. And the basketball reference doesn't really stick with me that well because I'm not that, me. But I get as a sports fan, I get the reference. As I get it. I think
the most wins for hockey in a season, Vinny?
Dude, I can't remember. I don't know. I have no.
And this guy's Mr. Hockey.
There's not a team in the hockey history that's like has the
right
best
now.
record of all time.
I can't think of it right now. I can't think of it.
This guy's got hockey gear all over his body, and he can't.
Yeah. Well, no, I have really. If you want to know the reason why I have hockey gear on, I really originally had a SpongeBob shirt on that I spilt milk all over while making hot chocolate for my wife before the show even started. That was my morning. But I digress.
72-8.
There you go. Merry Christmas. 72-8. Happy Hanukkah. There you go. Eagles defeat the Texans 29-17.